Okay. All right. Let's see what's happening in the chat. It's 5 p.m. for you, Ahmed. Excellent. All right. So good morning. Welcome to class. Welcome to the second class. I wanted to set a structure for the classes going forward. Um, what we're going to do first is take any questions from the class about the last week's assignments, lecture, materials, etc. And I see that people are having trouble joining. So I'll continue because we do have a full session today. So what I'll do is I'll start by taking questions, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to provide the lecture for the week, and I have set aside time for you to meet in your rooms. So we have rooms here on Teams. You can meet with your team and discuss the questions for the week. And I want to reiterate that the questions that the team asks is not something that you're turning in. These are questions that you ask each other because the end result is that you're going to build a business plan. So every week we're going to build upon different aspects of the plan. So you're going to be getting together and asking these questions. And what I did was I assigned teams according to time zones so that you are as close as possible to each other. If you want to collaborate synchronously, uh, you don't have to. You can message each other back and forth. That's why you have a team room inside of Moodle. However, I'm going to make time to have you collaborate during our weekly sessions. So if you understand that, give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up if you got that. We're going to assign you to rooms here in Teams, and then you're going to have time to collaborate during our weekly sessions. All right. So I see people are trickling in. That's good. The other thing is we're also going to have time for you to work on your individual questions. Now, that is the one that you are going to turn in, but you will have time during our 3-hour segments to actually work on those questions. And then, we'll look at the questions together and see if you have any questions about the questions. One of the things that I mentioned to you last week is that as an MBA student, um, we have to assess different learning outcomes. Um, Three of them for this class in particular. One is that you are able to communicate. That's where your writing comes in. Two is that you have to exercise critical thinking. That's where the quiz comes in. And three is that you're able to collaborate. That's where the team project comes in. Now, speaking of the quiz, what I did in week 1 is I gave you a lot of questions because I wanted to establish the foundation for this course. The first chapter of the course establishes the foundation for the course. That is true for papers that you write, academic papers that you write while you're in school. You want to establish the foundation for what's to come. So that's what that chapter, that's what that quiz was. Going forward, you're going to be getting 20 questions each week. So just checking in my WhatsApp to see if anyone is having any issues getting in. So going forward, you'll have 20 questions. Most of them will be multiple choice, and some will be true false. And you'll have 2 attempts for those questions. The first week, last week, you had multiple attempts. Some of you have said, go back in and increase your score. Now you're going to have 2 attempts, 20 questions. Again, the weekly questions are for you to critically assess the material, and then that's going to actually help you in not only your team project, but also in your writing assignment. The team project, again, is due at the end of class. There are no deliverables, nothing that you have to turn in. So your um, weekly assignments are to do the 20-question quiz and to answer the 3 questions at the end of the chapter.
Professor, hello.
Yes.
I have a question. So, the weekly assignments,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, the ones that we have at the end of the chapter,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another one, right? Which are
No,
list of questions. No.
no, it just says weekly. It says weekly. I have it in the title of the assignment, and that's the title you're looking for. I think it says weekly. Let me see what it says in the. Let me go to the assignment, and I try my best to make sure that I'm clear in the assignments. Um, and the only reason I didn't put the questions in the assignment is because you're not the author doesn't allow you to copy and paste. So let me just open up the assignment for you. Um, so week 1 chapter assignment. Let's see. In every chapter, there's a section called individual exercises, and I'm going to read the assignment from Moodle. It says, in a 1 to 2 page paper, excluding the header and the reference pages, please provide answers to chapter 1 individual exercises. So that's all you're doing is you're going to the section called individual exercises, and I think they have like 3 questions there, and you're just answering those questions.
Okay, I think that's clear. But I've also seen a bunch of questions in the teams that we were assigned to.
Yes, and what I was saying earlier, I'm not sure if you were on the call,
Oh,
is
I'm so sorry. Yes, I joined a bit. I think
oh,
two
no
minutes or
worries.
3 minutes late. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. What I was saying is that those questions are not questions that you turn in. And I said that I think last week again, but I'll continue to reiterate because I want us to be on the same page, same line. Is that those questions are questions that you discuss amongst yourself as a team as you prepare to build your business plan. Those are not questions that you have to turn in. So I hope that's clear to the entire class.
Yes.
There are
Yes,
no
it's clear to me.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
There are no questions to to turn in for your team. The only assignment for the team is to turn in the business plan at the end of the semester or the end of the course, the business plan, the paper, and the presentation. The questions that I put in the team forum is for you to discuss amongst yourselves as you prepare to create the different sections of the business plan. So these are questions you ask and answer. Like, for example, last week, and we're going to spend some time today to separate into our team rooms and answer the questions for this week. So you'll see how that works. One of the questions we asked last week was, are you a person that likes to take risks, if you will? Well, and you might be asking yourself, why do I have to answer that question? Because it kind of informs the type of business that you'll create for your business plan. If you're a person that likes to take risks, you might say, hey, let's create a business for cryptocurrency and some aspects of it, because that's a kind of a new type of product, and it's very risky, right? But if you're a person that doesn't like to take risks, then you might decide that we're going to start a business that's very low risk, such as we're going to do people's lawns, things like that. Because you have to collaborate in your teams to decide the type of business that you want to use for your business plan. So again, I will be setting aside time for you to get into your rooms inside teams every week during our session. So you can ask and answer those questions among yourselves. There's nothing to turn in. It's just a basis for you to get to know each other and get to understand the type of business you'll create and the different aspects of the business plan that you'll be putting together. And the same thing for your individual um, exercises. We'll have time. I'll go over the questions for that week, and you have time to ask questions about the questions and get a head start on it. So what I'm doing is that I'm making this 3 hour that we're spending together, 3 hours with a half an hour break. We didn't get one last week, and I apologize for that. But it was the first session, and the first session is used to get to know each other and things like that. So it's fine. So we'll spend time within our 3 hour block. We're going to maximize it to collaborate with our teams with those questions that we ask each other, and then to see how you can get started on the individual exercises. And the other thing I'll repeat for those that came in after is that the questions on the quiz going forward will be 20 questions. The first week, I wanted to set the foundation. You had a lot of questions. You had multiple attempts or unlimited attempts because I want to make sure that you understand what entrepreneurship is. And then once we set the foundation, we can go forward. Going forward, you'll have 20 questions. Most of them will be multiple choice, and some will be true false. So that's going to be the setting going forward. Any questions before we start this week's lecture? Anybody have any questions?
I have one question, please.
Okay.
So, since we will weekly discuss the questions in the form for the project to develop finally our business plan, we will have to post the answers according to our conclusion in the room or something, or it can be only a discussion.
It's up to you. You can post them. Best practice is that you kind of come to an agreement of what everyone agrees on, and maybe put something there in the room because some people may not be in the room when you're in the room. So that is a point of reference. And as you go forward, 3, 5, 8 weeks in, you may forget what you decided on. So it doesn't have to be an answer to every question, but you want to put something in there as a point of reference. But the questions you definitely want to discuss amongst yourselves to make sure that you're on the same page in terms of the business and in terms of the different aspects of the business plan.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions going forward? All righty. Let us start. Let's go over this week's lecture, chapter 2. So each chapter corresponds with each week. So I'm going to share my screen. It's out the way so I can see you guys. Any questions? All right, give me a thumbs up if you're able to see the first slide. Okay, excellent. So let's go to chapter 2 and talk about individual leadership and entrepreneurial startups. Individual leadership and entrepreneurial startups. One of the things I mentioned last week, and I'll reiterate this week, is that even if you do not decide to be an entrepreneur, and you might be asking yourself, why am I taking this class if I'm not, an entrepreneur? Is that in businesses, they have what you call corporate entrepreneurship, where in the business itself, they have different divisions or departments that operate as an entrepreneurial business, meaning that they have the resources they need, they've got the team, they got the budget, they got the materials to operate as an individual entity inside this bigger entity. So the skills that you learn as an entrepreneur, they're transferable to that type of organization. In addition, as a leader in a company, you are operating as an entrepreneur. There's certain things that you have to present to the larger leadership in terms of how your department is doing, how the people are doing, how your products and services are faring, how much money are you bringing into the company, and so forth. So these skills are very, very transferable, not only to your professional career, but also to your personal career, your personal endeavors. So as you can see on the cover, we have a business plan there, and you can see that there's a lot of information that goes into it. Each week, we're going to talk about different aspects of the business plan so that you are fully equipped to write the different parts of your business plan. So learning objectives. We're going to understand how entrepreneurs impact the business world as a whole. Last week, we talked about upwards of 90% of the total amount of money that the US makes are small businesses or entrepreneurial businesses. So that's pretty significant. So it's not that the big companies, Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, are making the most money for the country. It's this, all the small businesses put together. We're going to discuss the importance of entrepreneurial orientation. And that's what I just talked about, what that looks like. How do you think? How do you behave? How do you act? List triggers that encourage new business formations. So what encourages you to start a business? A lot of individuals during COVID-19 and the other crises, they had a long, hard look at themselves and what they were doing and decided, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to build something for my family going forward. I want to build something that I can hand down to my family, or I want to do something that I'm very happy at doing. And I'll talk about that later in terms of how do you know what type of business to start. Um, a good clue is that it's something that you enjoy doing, that you would do even if you weren't getting paid for it. So we're going to compare and contrast different types of business support. So compare means things that are like, contrast things that are different. Explain how to evaluate what you enjoy most and discover how they may lead to business opportunities. We do have a little personality test that we're all going to take today. So this chapter discusses why individuals are important to the success of any new business. The success of any business, new, existing, large, small, are individuals. So the individuals together collectively contribute to the company's success. So it's always the people. It's not the product. It's not it's not the customers. As I said last week, employees are first, and then they'll take care of your customers. The people, individuals, are important to the success. Self-evaluation. We started that last week. You got to examine your risk tolerance, any boundaries you have, and your type of personality. Some personality are suited to different aspects of business. If you're a people person, that means that you like people and you like to interact with people, then you might want a role in the business where it's customer facing, where you're performing those kind of functions. If you decide that I'm not really a people person, I rather just, work on what I need to work on, then you might find yourself doing some type of technology or creating or in accounting or along those lines. That being said, you always want to challenge yourself as an individual and as a leader. You don't always want to sit in your comfort zone, because when you sit in your comfort zone, you do not grow. So if you want everything to be comfortable, I want this to be comfortable so I don't feel like I'm being risky. I want this to be within my personality, then you will not grow and you'll remain the same. Part of being an effective leader is being a learning leader. And when you learn new things, when you stretch yourself, when you challenge yourself, then you learn and you grow. We're going to look at triggers again for starting the business and what each individual brings to the process. This is why I want you to collaborate in your team rooms to see what everybody brings to the process. You want every person to bring something to it. So together, you fill all the gaps. So what you bring to the process might include your family, some of you have family members who are entrepreneurs, and you can, you know, talk with them, find out from them how they're operating their business. You know, they may have needs that you can identify in terms of, well, let's use this as the business for our business plan. The networks, you know, a lot of times, as professionals, we have networks that we belong to. So, you know, whether it's LinkedIn or if there's something physical where they have a community network for entrepreneurs or for women or or for um or for men, let's not exclude the men. um, in terms of community and finances. Last week I spoke about in the US, we have the Small Business Association, SBA, and they provide resources including access to funding for small businesses. And the final advice I will reiterate is that when you form a business, make sure it's something that you enjoy doing to a certain degree. But again, keep in the back of your mind that you do want to think of things that also will challenge you and help you to grow. Any questions so far about what we're going to cover during this chapter? Anybody have any questions or comments? I'll take that as a no, and I'll keep moving. So let's talk about the differences between large organizations and entrepreneurial businesses. So the large organizations are probably the one that you work for, and the ones that I consult with. So in the large organizations, no one person is crucial to the survival of the business. In the entrepreneurial business, it's dependent on individuals. So in the large organizations, there are a lot of divisions and departments, and there's different roles. You got the CEO, you have the CFO, COO, CIO, CTO, etc. And they're responsible for each of those areas. And as an entrepreneurial business, it's dependent on individuals. And some of you who have been entrepreneurs, who are entrepreneurs, you understand that when I started my business, I was the person that was responsible for the success of the business. I had to go out and secure new business, new customers. I had to learn the tools. I had to assess what they needed. I had to find out, and I did a lot of subcontracting, which individuals can bring that skill set to the table. So it's dependent on individuals. In a large organization, the second bullet point, knowledge is widely dispersed. As I mentioned before, the different senior leaders, the C-suite is what we call them, so that you have someone that's knowledgeable about accounting, technology, finance, marketing, etc. In the entrepreneurial business, there's a concentration of knowledge. So it's at the very beginning, at least, it's like kind of like a one-man show. So I had to operate as a CEO, the technology officer. I had to do the accounting. I had to do the marketing. So there's a concentration. And even if you have more people, you have one person that's wearing more than one hats. So one person can do marketing and accounting. Someone else could be the CEO and the CFO. So the knowledge is more concentrated as opposed to dispersed. In the large organizations, there's excess resources. So you have access to a lot of different resources. You know, if you're in a large corporation, and I'll speak for the one that I consult with, you know, everybody has they have their laptops and their monitors, and they have, you know, a weekly budget for office supplies, if you will, for those that work from home. And if you're in the office, you have your, you know, the area that you work with, your resources and so forth. In the smaller business, you have limited Slack resources. So Slack means that it's widespread, you have limited. So you might have to share resources in the entrepreneurial business. Any questions on the differences between the two? Any questions or comments? Questions or comments? No questions, comments. Okay. No problem, Mohammed. What I did yesterday is, which I didn't have last week, I had all your email addresses in Teams. Last week I didn't. So I sent out an invite to you, and that's the link that you can use going forward. So give me a thumbs up if you got the invite for the new meeting series. It was sent out last night, my time. Should have came into your email. Excellent. So that's the one that you're going to use going forward. And I'll update the message in the in Moodle because I didn't have your email addresses last week, and I'll update it in the WhatsApp as well. Okay, let's continue. So collaboration, very important in terms of an MBA student, because if you want a career that utilizes your MBA, you have to really understand how to collaborate. And even if you don't, as a leader, collaboration is very important. So understanding collaborating in small groups is essential. This is why I've assigned you to small groups of, I think 5 or 6. And you want to look at some of the key characteristics that you look for in a business partner. So when we get to our rooms later, we're going to talk about those questions for this week. But think about that. If you want to partner with someone, and that means that they're part of your entrepreneurial startup, let's say you're the CEO, they're the CFO. What would you look for in terms of chief financial officer? What are you looking for besides the fact that they should, have the ability and the skill to perform that job? You still want to be able to collaborate with them. You want someone that is a critical thinker, someone that is not combative, someone that knows how to collaborate, how to have professional disagreements, if you will, someone that's not overly emotional. So you want to think about what are those characteristics that you would want when you partner with someone. And I do want to pause here for a moment. I noticed a new trend in larger businesses, and what they do is they call the different departments business partners. They've changed over the naming or the nomenclature. Is that these are business partners? So the HR department, instead of HR department, is our HR business partner. So they use that because it's a more friendlier, and it's more the term makes it seem like you're partnering together. You're working for the same goal. You're not, doing your own thing. So let's look at some advantages for new businesses. Um, it's owned and run by the same persons. Um, so in larger companies, you might have owners, and then you might have people that run it. So you might have CEO or owner CEO, and then you have a president that runs the company. In the smaller company, you're the owner slash CEO slash president. And again, you have multiple roles in the smaller business. A lot of flexibility. In the larger companies, they're not as flexible because if you decide that you want to do something new, you have to run it through different departments, different approvals. In a lot of cases, what you're doing this year has already been established years in advance in terms of planning. So that they decide, the C-suite decide that in 2023, this is what we're going to pursue in 2023. And we're going to pursue just those. With a small entrepreneurial business, you're more agile and more flexible. You might see an opportunity and you're like, you know what, let's take advantage of this. This is an opportunity. So let's see how we can exploit this opportunity and turn it into new business. For a new business, you have ability to fill niches. So or niches, or niche. Niche is the singular, niche, and niches or niches is the plural. So a niche is a market. So when you're a business, you look at who your market is, and your market, those are your customers. So if you think about a business that sells cars, right? They might have a market, and the market for cars is pretty broad because you have anybody from teenagers who are just learning to drive to, retirees. Okay. So within the automotive market, we have the new EVs, electric vehicles, that a lot of people are interested in. So that's a niche. So the people that are interested in not having a large carbon footprint, not being reliant on gas, they might want to buy electric cars. So that's a niche. All right. If you're a big business, it's not easy to identify a niche and then to pivot to it. Because as I said, you've got your plans for the years. And it's not just 1 year, it could be 5 years in advance, 10 years in advance. But they're not able to fill every niche. So the new business, a lot of times people come into business because they want to fill a niche. They call it niche market. So you're noticing that. So we have this large company, but they are neglecting this market. They're neglecting this set of people that have needs. So we're going to go into business to fill those niches. And I'm going to stop here and ask you, I'm going to do a little poll. As you look in the marketplace, can you identify any niches that you see that are not being filled by the larger companies? So let me grab myself a poll here. And just be thinking about it before I give you an opportunity to fill out the poll. Let's see. If you want to answer on the microphone, you can as well. So while I'm finding the polls, can you identify any markets or any people out there where the larger companies are not filling the gap, or they're not meeting the needs of those people? Can you think of a niche market? And it could be, a certain age group. It could be, they're not doing this for women or for men. And I'll give you an example. I'm not sure how true it is, but I think the men can answer that. I know that when I go into the ladies' room, if you will, they have areas for mothers with young babies that you can change the baby, feed the baby, and so forth. I'm not sure if they have that in the men's room. Do they have that in the men's room?
No,
Any men? You don't have that?
not here, not in Kuwait, no.
So so that could be a niche, right? Because men do take care of babies, right? They do change their babies. Is that true? Do you change your babies in Kuwait? Or is it just the women that change the babies?
I did,
So you might have your
but
baby.
the good thing here is there is separate rooms for this.
So
It's not only attached to the women bathroom. It's a separate room.
okay. So and we have that here as well. In some cases, because of the limitations of the space, they'll have it in the ladies' room. Like I'm thinking of one particular place, for example, which is my church. In the ladies' room, they have this area for the babies, but we don't have a space for both men and women to go into. Okay. Anyone else? Can you think of a niche I gave you that as an example, which is different for different countries. And you have to keep that in mind as well, because when you think about if your customer is in a different country, you've got to think about the culture, and you really got to understand what the culture is there, because one size does not fit all. Anyone identify a niche so far?
Maybe not in my country, but I think in Dubai, I've heard there are prayer rooms even in the airport. I'm not sure if I'm correct, uh, but we don't have that here. Maybe that could be an example.
That's a great example. What kind of rooms are they?
Prayer rooms.
Oh, prayer rooms.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Um, I've seen that in airports over here, where there's a general area. I think they call it a more neutral name. They might say a meditation room.
Meditation room.
Yes.
Yes, is
So you're not.
meditation. Yes.
So that's that's a niche, right? Because I don't think it's everywhere. It might be something that's at the international airports as opposed to the local airports. That's a great example. Give me one more before I continue. One more niche.
For
Think about
example,
it.
Maybe
in
the
Turkey,
go ahead, sorry.
okay. For example, in Turkey, we don't have something like women rooms, but we have family rooms where everybody can come with family and take care about their children or whatever they need. So it's also like niche.
So that's good, because so the entire family can come, not just the baby and the mommy, or the baby and the daddy. So everybody can come, because sometimes you have two small children, what have you, or you might have elderly family members. So when you think about a niche, great example. Ahmed, I think you had another one as well.
Yes, I was thinking of the custom-made ornament. Okay, I believe it's an industry, not an industry. It's a field that what can I say? Only local and small vendors are taking interest in it, but not big manufacturers, because
This
it's
is true.
custom made. If each one is each person has a different taste.
Yes, that is a niche. Because we have mass production, right, with the big companies. So they do the same thing, and it's easier for them. So as you're going out this week, and think about when you're, interacting with your environment, your community, what have you, what are some things that you say, that's missing? So these are places where entrepreneurs look for opportunities. So thank you for those answers. So another advantage for the new business is you can maximize the value of the business. So in terms of what Ahmed just said, is that you can maximize that value in terms of, this is what we're bringing to the market. So, especially if you have, small children, you might want to have something customized just for them, so that they have it as they go through the years and what have you.
May I ask something?
Sure.
So, for example, the existence of Uber car as an example, it's kind of filling the niche as well, because the number example of private cars with some specific, I mean, some sort of luxury or something like that, and even more facility to transport the passengers. It's kind of filling the niche as well, as I understand.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And the cab drivers are not happy about that.
Yes, I know.
They're not. They're up in arms everywhere. And I know we traveled to. It was a couple of years ago. It might have been in 2020. We traveled to this one country, and we were like, do y'all have Uber? And they're like, no, we don't have Uber. I was like, you're gonna have Uber soon. And you're gonna have Uber, because it's, to your point, it's not just this cab. You can have a luxury experience, if you will. And a lot of Uber drivers, they customize their vehicles. You go in there, you have water. What kind of music do you want? It's nice and comfy. So
Yes.
It's an experience. And Nuran said most people don't think about niches, they think about profitability. That is correct. I will tell you this. And I was listening to something just yesterday. You profitability cannot be your first, priority. You have to think about how is this business going to help other people, and the profitability and the success will come after. And that's a lesson for life. If you're going for a job, it's not necessarily the highest paying job. It's a job that's going to make you, have enough responsibilities where you feel that you're extending your capabilities, but also to challenge you. So it's less about, the money. We did a survey, my company did a survey in terms of satisfaction, career satisfaction. And we thought a lot of people were going to say salary. They did not. They said that the number one satisfaction is for them to feel valued and appreciated in front of their peers. So it's not that money's not important, but it should not be the only driver, because then you're going to always be chasing a job for more money, or, a company for more money. And that's not going to lead to a good place. If you have a service or product that's going to help people, that will follow. And another comment here is that people become less risk takers with more of economic crisis. Yes, and we notice that we are facing that right now. So that's a good point you're making, Nuran, because when you think about your business, think about a business that's impervious to swings in the marketplace, right? So you also want to think about a business that, at least for now, you're going to maximize on your virtual capabilities. During COVID, when we all had to go inside, and we all were doing things virtually, and a lot of companies were like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing virtual stuff? Why are we flying to this customer? One company I consulted with, we traveled all over the world to go to the customer before COVID. We were just traveling all over the world. And we realized afterwards that we don't have to travel. We can get on Teams. Okay. So yeah, think of something that's going to be virtual, that's going to be impervious to economic. I'm going to take Mohammed has a question, and then Liza
Yes,
has a question.
yes.
Yeah.
Because I missed the first 15 minutes, I was on the wrong room at that time waiting for everyone. But I didn't realize if you have discussed the individual exercise or not, or you went through this or not, because we wrote something about what will be our, I would say, preferred business that we want to do and something like that. Did you discuss this one in
Not
the
yet.
first 15 minutes or not yet?
Not yet. We're going to discuss it towards the end of class, as well as the questions for next week.
End of class, that means this class or next class? Or what?
No, end of
End
this
of
class.
this class?
Yeah, this session.
Okay.
Session.
Okay, great. Okay,
All
thank
right. Lizette?
Yes, could you please, Professor, clarify, for example, education, is it niche or niche? Is it some special courses, for example, in marketing, it would be the niche? And for instance, health and wellness, is it niche, or providing massage, is it the niche?
So I heard the first one is education. Let me address that one first. The education delivery format is a niche because traditionally, when you went to school, you had to go to a classroom and sit in the class. So what some of the educational providers, universities realize is that, hey, there's a market that we're not capturing. There are professionals who work all day that cannot come to class, professionals or stay-at-home parents, um, or professionals that travel all the time. They can't come into a classroom, so they offered the online class, and that was a niche at that time. But I will say that, and I've watched the online market since 2002. In 2002 was very small, then it got bigger. Now, after COVID or during COVID, it got even bigger. So now it's not as niche as it was. However, if you have a specific course of study, that would be a niche. For example, the metaverse. I know you guys heard about the metaverse. There's a lot of learning opportunities in the metaverse because it's prototyping real life. So if you have doctors, for example, they can actually prototype doing an operation in the metaverse. So that's a niche market there. So in terms of education, I think the metaverse provides the largest opportunity because now you can learn and touch and interact with each other differently than we're doing now. It's a lot more differently. It's more immersive in the metaverse. So that would be niche. The second question, did you say massage?
Yes, the same health and wellness, and inside is massage. So health and wellness, it's some kind of type of business, and massage will be the niche, or am I wrong?
Yeah, health and wellness is very broad. No, you're right. It's very broad, but you might say we're going to focus on just doing massages instead of doing, skin and hair and, all that other stuff. We're going to focus just on massage or just focus on, vitamins or supplements, if you will. So a niche is a particular now remember the niche is going to be people. So when you think about what you're doing, who are these people now that you want to be bringing your products and service to? Great examples. Some
Thank you.
company, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Some companies are having people come in and give them massages. Okay, let's see what we have here. Ezgi means bring is a Turkish founded to its mobile app. It offers on-demand delivery service for grocery items and a courier service for restaurant food delivered, which was niche at the time. In March 2022, they raised $768 million. So they went public, 12 billion. Now they became giants. Yes. In 2015, yes, Ezgi, that was a niche because food delivery, what is that? And now, and we saw that during COVID. A lot of time crises help you to identify niche. Crises it exposes what's lacking. Like when everybody was inside, it's like we can't go to restaurants. How do we get food? Cook it? No. So you can order it. Yeah, COVID was a chance. Yes, it was. Even though it was bad, you look at it holistically. It was good. So yeah, now everybody's is ordering groceries and ordering food delivery. We got all the major supermarkets here. You can get your groceries delivered, and then we have a lot of restaurants delivering. We got DoorDash over here, where they just deliver from. So you got to think about it. Some person thought about, why don't we have a relationship with all the restaurants in this area, and let's set up a fee structure where people can order food from them, we deliver the food, and we get a piece of the pie, if you will. So yes. Does that, do you have another question, or your hand is just up? I'm not hearing you if you're speaking. You might be on mute. I think
No,
the hand
thanks.
is, okay, I think your hand was just remaining up. Isn't it tired? Is your hand tired for being up for that long? All right, so great discussion about the new business. All right, so the agency theory is a theory that believes individuals act to maximize their own benefit. So agencies is a word that we've heard in the last few years, especially in this country, is that your ability to act on your behalf to maximize your own benefit. So if you think about a large corporation, you have a manager who are acting to maximize their own benefit, not necessarily that of the shareholders. And when you have a large company, um, they have shareholders. So they're publicly traded. That means that they have people that have stock. They have invested in the business. So the manager might act to maximize their own benefit and not thinking about the ultimate return to the shareholders. On the other hand, in an entrepreneurial business, the individual who owns the business, this is your business now. You're always going to act to maximize the value of the business. And that's where the interests of the owner and the business are aligned. Where in a larger corporation, because you have all these different divisions, department, you're acting, let's make sure that my division is doing well. Let's make sure I look good. I'm performing well and so forth. So you have more control over that with the business. All right, let's look at the cost of luxury. So let's talk about luxury. First class is considered a luxury for a lot of people. That's why you have less first class seats on an aircraft than the other seats. So let's talk about what do you consider, let's say you're running your entrepreneurial business, what would you consider a luxury? Let's take first class. How many of you think first class travel is a luxury? Give me a thumbs up if you think first class travel is luxury. Just in general. Okay. And some people don't. They're like, I travel first class all the time. That's not a luxury. It's a necessity. All right. Let's think about you and your business. What would you consider a luxury for your business that you're going to start, your entrepreneurial business? What would be considered a luxury besides first class travel? Because it's very expensive, especially if you go across the water. What would you consider to be a luxury for you, your partners? What would you think a luxury is? Anyone?
I think high-end machinery, like the top of line computers. Yeah, something like that.
Yes, I agree. What about, speaking of that, let me follow your train of thought. What about a 3D printer? Is that a luxury for your business venture? A 3D printer?
Exactly, as well as having very nice and big office in the middle of the city, for example, with nice furniture, it's also luxury.
Yeah, you just kind of like, we're not there yet. Let's and think about your customers. Are they going to come into the office to see you, or do you go to your customers? In that case, you might want to consider something virtual. If you need to be in the office, then you can make it nice. It doesn't have to be top end. Good example. Anybody else? Bottled water, is that a luxury?
No, but for example, business cars, it's also luxury for some trips to go to the meetings with very business class cars. It's also luxury.
Okay. Anybody agree or disagree or have another luxury? Mohammed?
I would say using a high-end telephone, Apple, for example, 14 iPhone 14 is luxury if I don't need it, if I don't need all the features of it.
Yeah, you want to have the basic features, but you may not need the other ones. Okay, good, great examples. All right, let's move on. So luxuries and necessities. Now, what do you consider a necessity if you are starting up this business? What is a necessity that you need to have?
Facebook page, for example,
Yes.
is a necessity and cost efficient.
Mm-hmm. You definitely want to
Contact
social.
data.
What's that?
Contact data like a telephone number,
Mm-hmm.
an email.
Yes. You definitely want contact information and the whole As you mentioned, the whole social media. You want the website, you want the email, you want the phone number, you want the social media presence. What else is a necessity?
Teams,
computers
Microsoft
or
Teams.
laptops.
Business card.
Business card, laptops, Microsoft Teams.
Website for that business.
What for the business?
Website and application
Website.
where users can go and research more about that particular business.
Yes, definitely. Definitely a website. Okay. Great answers. All right. So these are things you're thinking about when you're putting your business together. So hopefully this is helpful. All right. So potential entrepreneurs need to consider certain things. Your risk tolerance. That is how we talked about that at the top of the class. How tolerant are you to risk? Because if you're a risky person, then you might look at a business venture or a niche that's risky or not. You want to look at your prior experience. That means that you want to bring your experiences to the table, like your prior experience in either running a business or your prior experience in certain, like you might have worked in marketing before, or you might have worked in finance before, or in technology, and then the personality, because people have to be able to work together. A lot of times you'll see people come together and then they break up. A lot of times personality, and I think about that with singing group performers, where they come together and they put out great stuff, great music, and then whatever happened to them because they didn't get along and they just broke up, and it's like, too bad. All right. So in terms of risk tolerance, you must evaluate what level of risk you're willing to undertake when you start a new business. What we saw, I think last week, and I know we covered a lot of things in general, but we'll get more specific. One of the things that we looked at was a pro forma statement, and it was a statement that had your cash coming in and your cash going out. And we looked at it for like 5 years. So if something is more risky, then it's maybe more difficult to assess 5 years worth of cash flow in and out. If it's moderate risk, then you're probably in a better position to do that. This is not to say that you shouldn't, pursue things that are risky, but you have to assess what the risks are and what the rewards are. But it's important that everyone's on the same page in your team. Break-even point. That's where your revenue covers your expenses. So if you remember on the cash flow or the pro forma, the top lines had all the revenue, everything that constituted revenue for your business. And then below, which is a lot more in terms of different items, were all your expenses, all the expenses that you incur during a certain time period for the business. And then the bottom line was what was the net result. The break even is where your revenue covers your expenses. And as you move forward, then you should have more revenue than expenses. In the beginning, if you remember on the pro forma, we had negative revenue for a period of time because you're starting up, you're not making any money, you're putting the business together and so forth. But then a certain time, 3 months, 6 months, if you will, you started making money, incurring revenue, and they were able to cover your expenses. Okay. So this picture looks very risky. This person is on a chair on top of a thing, and these other people, that's very few people are this risky. I think only circus performance, maybe. So risk tolerance. One well-known entrepreneur says that you never do anything that keeps you up at night. So some of you guys, when I say you guys, it's a US term. It means guys and girls. So we just say you guys. Some of you have trouble sleeping at night. Give me a thumbs up if you lay in your bed and you think about 40 different things and you're not able to fall asleep because you're thinking about tomorrow, what I have to do, what I did, what I didn't do, so forth. Yeah, I find myself I find myself, if you have family, small kids, your mate, all these things keep you up. you don't want to add your entrepreneurial as another thing that keeps you up. So think about something that you're able to sleep at night. You're able to say, I did a good job today. I can lay my head down and sleep. Okay. So even if you are risky, you want to have risks that where you feel most comfortable. So your team has to decide that we are going to accept risks, but this is where we feel the most comfortable with the risk, because you don't want to disturb your work-life balance. There's a lot of work-life balance happening in this country where people are saying, I want to make sure that not only am I working, but I'm also taking care of myself, my health, mental health, and physical health. That's something I think that pervades in organizations. So prior experience is where your history, your culture, and your family comes in. So each team member is going to bring their prior experiences to the table, if you will. So your worldview, how you interpret the world, how you look at different things such as business or men, women, race, gender, religion, politics. This is how you interpret the world. And these are the filter. This is how you filter the world. You filter how you see the world. If you think that, for example, that you can only start a business if you're a certain age, this is the filter that you bring. You can't be older and start a business, then you bring these filters. And these filters are how you see the world, but they also limit how you see the world. So you got to be cognizant of that. It places boundaries on how you see the world. Because if you think only younger people should start businesses, or maybe you think only older people should start businesses, on the other hand, you're bounded. That's the bounded rationality. You're bounded. You're in a box. Your prior experience established what you think is possible and practical because you have experience. So if you had experience starting 3 businesses and they did not succeed, you might think, hey, starting a new business is too risky. All right. So you want to make sure that you have a very clear type of rationality, and you're not restricted by what happened in the past. Okay. You want to open yourself up to new ideas and new realities and new possibilities. So we have different, we're going to do a personality test, then we'll take a break first, and then we'll do the personality test and come back and talk about it. So we have different ones. I looked at these. Some of these you got to pay for, but one of them is totally free. So Myers-Briggs, I think we talked about that last week. Some of you did that in a prior class. They look at your different types of personality, extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuiting, thinking versus feeling, and judgment versus perception. And then Enneagram suggests that there are actually 9. So either you're a reformer, you're a helper, you're an achiever, you're an individualist, you're an investigator, loyalist, enthusiast, challenger, and peacemaker. So when you have different personality types, if you have a business and everybody has the same exact personality type, that may not be something that is going to be beneficial. You want there to be some type of differences. And then the big 5 tests look at 5. Open-mindedness. I think this is one we're going to do. Conscientiousness, agreeableness, emotional stability, and extroversion. Okay. So they have tons of personality tests. And the thing about the personality test is that you have to be 100% honest, because you want an honest reflection of how you really are as a person. So this is the one that we're going to actually take. I'm going to come back to it. These are triggers. This is why people start business. So it can come from positive or negative stimulus. And we talked about COVID, which was both. It was negative, but it was also positive. Like if you're being laid off, you might think of, you know what? Instead of looking for another job, let me start a new business. The risk versus return is financially tolerable. So you might have high risk, but high return. And you might say, hey, that's worth it to me if there's a high risk and there's a high return. If I invest 250 and I get 1,000, then I think it's tolerable. If you have little to lose financially if you fail, so you don't want to put, and some people do this, they like mortgage their homes, they take out these excessive loans and so forth, and they're like, I'm going all in. Whereas other people say, you know what, I have a certain amount of money, and if I lose this, I'm okay with it. It's like people that gamble and go to casinos and they bring a certain amount of money and they say, if I lose this, I'm fine. You're not going to bring your rent or your mortgage. Some people do. Another example is that an idea for improvement is doable. And that's what we talked about, a niche, or it could be not a niche, but we're doing this, let's do it better. Okay. You might read a book, go to a seminar, and then you're like, you know what, I want to start a business. You might be experiencing a midlife crisis, and you're like, you know what, the first half of my life, I lived it this way. This half of my life, I'm going to live it a different way. You might look around in your community and see they're doing certain things, and you might want to, add to those efforts. Or you might, what we call it in America for women is a glass ceiling, where you can see up the ladder, but you're not able to get there. So, it's not just women that experience that, other people do as well. But the glass ceiling is that you can see it, but you can't get there. One of the things that I tell leaders, or advise them, I said, look at your organizational chart in terms of your leadership. Does your leadership reflect the people in your organization? Because if I, as a male, I look at the org chart and I don't see any males on there, then I might believe that there's no space for me to climb that far. Vice versa, as a woman or a minority, or someone from a different culture. If I don't see myself there, then I might believe that there's no space for me to go higher. And then if you feel that way, you might say, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. So these are just triggers. Okay. So you have personal motivations, circumstance motivations. So the personal one comes from yourself, and the circumstance comes from you saying, you know what, this economic downturn really affected me, and I'm going to make sure that it doesn't in the future. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to put myself in a position that the downturn does not affect me and my family. Okay. So it's either or both. This is what I talked about, glass ceiling. Women-led business, 50% greater than that of men-led business. And that, we can talk about the reason why that is. In a lot of cases, and I realize that we have broad cultures here, the male, and I speak about the American culture, the male is seen as the person that provides the security for the family. And a lot of men are less likely to start a new business because it's too risky. They have a job, they have insurance, they can have insurance for their family, so they'll stay there. Women then are able to start a business because their husbands or their partner or the male has the stable job and the insurance and what have you. So the women can take more risks. Women in general are more risk tolerable than men are. This is what research has shown. It doesn't mean that all women are tolerant to risk. It just means that in general they are. So we have a lot of minority women owners in this country. We have a lot of businesses started by women and by minorities, and we've seen that growth going forward. And there's a lot of data that speaks to that. So as an entrepreneur, you have support. So there's not just one place to look for your support. You can look to your family. We talked about this, your social networks, your community, any financial resources. I talked about this, the Small Business Association here in the US, where they are a resource for any business that wants to start up. not just for the startup, but for the duration. They have people that counsel you. They have retired executives. That means that they retired from a large company where they were in the C-suite, and they provide free counseling for you. They also have financial resources, whether it's a grant or a loan or venture capital, they have those resources. So you want to look at these different places for resources. In terms of family members, sometimes it's good or bad. They support, guide, suggest, and they might have potential funding. Sometimes there are issues with that. There are family members that may be very committed or may not be very committed. So you don't really know. Then you have personal feelings that you bring to work. Sometimes when you live with someone, you bring it to work, and then you might find that it interrupts or disrupts how you run the business. And sometimes it's difficult to fire your family member. Think about you firing your brother, your sister, what your mom or dad would say. You can't fire your sister. That's your sister. Um, and then you have family members that the people that are non-family might think that the family members have an advantage, and there might be issues there. So there's a lot that goes on with family members and the business, but they are a source, for you to lean into for resources or support or guidance and so forth. So we have networks. So we talked about the different networks that you can have either virtually, there are Facebook groups, TikTok groups, there are all different types of groups on social media. There's LinkedIn, which is the professional network. There are networks in your community that you might want to utilize to get idea. And there's learning opportunities in these networks as well. It's not just meeting people and talking to them. They might have courses and seminars that you can learn from. In your community, we have what they call business incubators, which they provide from different office functions for small businesses. And in this country, we have a lot of those. Some of them went out of business because they were doing other things, but they have where you can actually have an office space if you want people to come into your office. So you have an office space, a legitimate address office space. Some of them will have virtual assistants where you have someone answering the phone if someone calls a number and so forth. We talked about the Small Business Association that we have all over the United States, where they supply resources and counseling and advice to small business or business starting up. Okay. We talked about this, the cost benefit, right? So you're saying that as a business, you want to make sure that what you're bringing in exceeds what you're putting out in terms of expenses. So you might start at a negative revenue in the beginning, but at some point you want to break even, and you want to make sure that you're making more than you're spending. Okay. So you want to make sure you have the appropriate funding. That's where the business plan comes in, because it itemizes all the expenses you need to run this type of business. And then you need to find out where you're going to get the funding from to pay for these expenses, whether that they be equipment or materials or human resources. You want to lay that out in your business plan, and you got to have a source for paying for that. We mentioned this before. Do something that you like. So the greatest contributor is doing something that you do like. You've heard this expression, you may have heard this, that if you do something that you like, you'll never spend another day working, because it's not work anymore, because you enjoy it. And because you spend a lot of time in the business, you're not working 8 hours a day as an entrepreneur. You're spending sometimes 12, 13, 15 hours a day for an extended amount of time. Make sure it's something that you enjoy doing. Okay. So if you don't have any passion, again, if you're just pursuing that, okay, this is great money, let me pursue it, then that's going to dwindle, and you're going to find yourself, lacking in the end. So in the retail industry is very sales and social. So if you're, again, your personality type is going to tell you, am I a social person? Should I be spending time in front of customers? This guy looks like he likes people. He likes not just women, but he likes men and children. So he's able to engage. Everyone's smiling. The kid is smiling, dad's smiling, mom's smiling. So you want to make sure that you are that person, or you put that person in front of your customers and potential customers. All right. So this is just a review. This is both saying what we did at the top and what we actually did. So the most critical resource is the entrepreneur. Be aware of your risk tolerance, any kind of bias you have, and anything that bounds your rationality. And that again is where you think that only certain people can do this, or this is only true in this situation. It's time consuming and rewarding. Use your resources, including your family, networks, and your community. And finally, form a business, doing what you like. So let's stop here. We're going to take our 30-minute break. Then we'll come back and we're going to do our personality test. And then we're going to go into any team activities and individual exercise questions. All right, so let's see what time it is. 18 plus 30, 48. So let's come back at 11:50, 11:50 hours. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Before we go on to, I'm going to take a look at the individual exercises and the questions for the team for this week. And then I'm going to have you work with your team for some of the questions. Before I go any further, are there any questions about the lecture, Chapter 2's lecture or reading? Any questions? Questions or comments? Okay. I will take that as a no. Um, all right, quick question. Thumbs up if you are using the EPUB reader for the text. Give me a thumbs up if you're using that. The EPUB reader.
No.
I'm not using what you sent exactly, but
What are
I'm
you,
using others.
oh, you have another reader? Okay. So you're able to navigate through the different chapters and so forth?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I think, do you have access to the McGraw-Hill where you can read it from there?
Well, I think it is, we have access, but buying books or sharing books is for you only as a professor.
Okay, so you don't have, okay, gotcha. I
We don't
understand.
have the books.
What I did, because I tried to download that EPUB, but I couldn't. I was not able to. So I just converted the EPUB file to PDF, and then I start working, reading it as PDF.
Okay, got you. So there's only access to the professors. I get that. So you did your critical thinking and got it to work.
Yes.
So good for you. I want to clarify the individual exercises, which is the only assignment that's due every week. Not the team stuff. The team is due finally at the end of the week, at the end of the course, rather, sorry. But as we go through the course, I will talk about during the lecture which pieces of that lecture you need to incorporate in your creating your business plan. And you'll have time to during the lecture, that's time we have on this day, to meet in your team rooms to talk about the different questions and the different aspects. So you have more than enough time to work on what's due for this course. I want to maximize the time we spend together, so that you're able to get a lot of value out of us meeting in this one space. So the first thing I want to clarify is, let me just share my screen real quickly. Is I'm in the EPUB reader. I'll give you a moment for it to, sometimes it doesn't show right away. Thumbs up if you're able to see the EPUB reader, or just say, I can see it. Okay. Alrighty. So at the end of every chapter, there's a section called individual exercises. So you can see one here. There's one here, etc. So every chapter is going to have an individual exercises. This is what you're going to complete each week. This week, it asked, the week that just passed, what types of new businesses interest you most and why? What aspects are appealing to you? Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur in the next 5 years? So those 3 questions were what was due for the individual exercise. I did reopen the quiz and this assignment until 00 Monday Eastern time. So in my time, it's actually 12 midnight tonight. So it'll be, but it's Eastern time. So you have that amount of time. If you haven't done the exercise, I noticed that most of you have done it. Some of you may have had questions. or have connection issues. So I'll open it up for an additional, well, less than a day so that you can have that in. I want you to get in a habit of completing your assignments on time because you don't want them to pile up. And again, we're going to spend time doing the class to discuss those questions. So you can take notes and even start your paper. So with that said, let's go to week 2, individual exercises. Can you do a Control F in here? No. Ooh. Control F. There it is. I'm going to go to individual. Uh-oh. By the way, I'm working with 8 fingers. My little pinky, I think I mentioned last week I broke it over the holiday. So it's supposed to be taped to the other one, which I took off. But I think I did this and I wasn't able to search properly. I'm not sure what's happening. Anyway, I'm gonna just go scroll down to, this is chapter 2's individual exercises. So this is what you're gonna be turning in for this week. So in view of what we talked about today, and good job with the interchange. I saw some interchanges in the chat that I missed during the lecture, so I went back and gave you a thumbs up. So good job with that. List up to 5 businesses which you could happily work every day. And that's a low-hanging fruit because even if you're working for a business that you enjoy working with, you can list that one, and you can list other businesses that you may have applied to in the past or you've seen and you're interested in. So you're just going to list those. And then the same thing for 5 businesses you would not enjoy working for every day. So you're just going to list those businesses as well. The third question, how do your personal interests impact these choices? So there's a lot of times there's an alignment between our personal interests and what we pursue as a profession, if you will. So think about, you might have interests. Let's say you're interested in sports or certain hobbies or certain books or certain things. And how does that impact you wanting to work for those 5 businesses or not wanting to work for those other 5 businesses? And then question 4 is, do you think the criteria you use to decide to work for a particular business would be the same for starting a new business? Sometimes it's the same and sometimes it's different. So you, as I mentioned earlier, and the text said, you want to work at something you enjoy doing. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a professional in an organization, you want to choose a path that highlights what you enjoy doing. And then how would these commonalities, what you have in common and differences, affect your decision to start a business? So that's what's due at the end of the week. What I'm going to do towards the end of this time, I'm going to give you about 10, 15 minutes to work on these exercises. So you have a jump start to the assignment. So you can spend less time outside of the class doing it. In the meantime, I'm going to have you go to your rooms. I'm going to open up the rooms. You've all been assigned to rooms. I'm going to post the link for the Big 5 personality tests in those rooms. I want you to take about 10, 15 minutes to do the test, and then another 5, 10 minutes to discuss what your findings are. And I'll be coming room to room to room. And then I'll also look at the questions that you should be asking in those rooms, whether it's in the team rooms or whether you're communicating in the forum in Moodle, or you're doing it asynchronously, or you're coming together. Questions you should be thinking about for the business plan and putting the business plan together. And again, the business plan is due at the end of the course, but there's certain elements that you're building as you go along. I will come into the room and point out what you need to focus on in terms of putting the plan together. So before I'm going to post the link to the personality test in the team rooms, once I let you go to your team rooms, and then we'll go from there. I see a question, a hand up. Yes.
Yes, Professor, I have a question about the 5 businesses at which I can happily work every day. It should be some businesses linked to my knowledge and skills, or whatever I want?
Whatever you want.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Whatever you want. And as I said, we talked about, in the lecture that you don't want to be up at night, whether you're working for a company or whether you're working for yourself. So you want to think about these businesses that, align with, you, personal beliefs, values, if you will. So it's not a chore. Okay. So I'm going to open up the rooms, and I'm going to come visit you in the rooms with the link for you to do your personality test. And I think I mentioned this. I opened up the quiz. Yeah, I did the quiz and the assignment until the end of the day, EST. So if you haven't done it yet, or if you want to reattempt your quiz to get a better grade, feel free to do so. Going forward, as I said at the top of the lecture, the quiz will only be 20 questions. The amount of questions for the first lecture was for you to establish your foundation of what entrepreneurship is. Going forward, it'll be only 20 questions. Okay, I'm going to open the rooms, and I'll see you inside the room. Okay, Mohammed, are you
Yes,
are you I assigned you to a room. Which team are you in?
3. Room 3, I don't know.
And you're not in room 3.
Should I join to room 3? Maybe I have
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
join.
Yeah.
Join.
Just make sure I have you in the right.
I'm clicking on room 3, but
You're not able to get
I'm
in? Let
not.
me see if I can get you in there.
Mhm.
Room 3. Go in there. So we have Sarah and I'm not sure if Wellington is a student or observing because I assigned all the students. So can I have some information about Wellington? I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Sarah?
Okay.
All right, I think everyone is pretty much back. How did you find the personality test and the comparing your findings with each other? Was that helpful? Good.
Well, actually, 4 out of 5 for me was okay. The last one or the first one actually is little bit far from my personality, but 4 out of the 5 are almost perfect.
I felt the same way. I felt like, is that how I am? But at least it gives you kind of a general guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I wanted to spend the next few minutes. We only got about 8 minutes left, or 7 now, to see if there are any questions about the individual exercises. You might want to use this time to take down some notes so that you can start you can start working on this individual exercise that you're going to turn in at the end of the week. So let me share my screen. Remember to use the sample paper I gave you. This is a standard of academic writing in universities. So make sure that you are using that when you turn your assignment in. And also, I know for most of you, English is not your first language. So even if it's not, even if it is, there's a tool I put in the classroom, Grammarly. It kind of helps you with putting your sentences together the right way. I use it myself, so it's not just for that, so that you're cohesive and coherent and so forth. So make sure that you use that. Okay, so let's take a look at the 5 questions. And as I said, you can jot some things down. This is a good start for you in the exercises. If you jot some points down, that you can expand on them later in your findings. And this exercise is like I said, is 1 to 2 pages. It's not really a big deal, but I want you to become engaged every week with the topic so you're able to be successful in the class overall. So any questions about the questions that we have here in terms of interpreting the questions? First one is list 5 businesses which you could happily work for every day. I think anybody could do that. A lot of people say Google, they look like they have a lot of fun. And then 5 which you would not enjoy working for. Any questions about how to go about doing that? You want to take a
Well,
minute?
the
Go ahead.
question is how to put them in the ABA format that you mentioned, because I didn't know to answer it, so I'm sorry, but I couldn't know how to answer it in the
You put
ABA
it,
format.
yeah, you put it in the sample paper that I showed. Let me bring that up. Have you got, you haven't, so Mohammed, I know this is your first semester, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and the rest of you have used APA format. Put your thumbs up if you have. That is the format for writing any type of papers in college, universities. So let me just go back to here. So this is a sample paper that I posted.
Yes.
And really, you're just replacing the contents of the paper with your content. So for example, and I'll show you what I mean. These are just comments. So this is what your title page should look like. This is the name of the course, your name, the you could just put down Windsor. I don't know if this is the MBA department or what have you. This is the name of the class. I'm sorry, this is the name of the paper. Week 1 individual exercises. This is a course. This is your professor. This is the date. Okay, so this paper has a page number in the top right corner. Get out of here. All right, and the subsequent pages, notice they have page numbers. You have a paragraph heading here. So that could be like question 1 would be here. And then notice that the text is indented here. And, when you have a paragraph, you have about 3 to 5 sentences in a paragraph. So you don't have a paragraph with just one sentence, 3 to 5. And you don't want 10 sentences in one paragraph. You want to break it up for the reader. So basically, that's just a format. This is a specific font. I think this is Times New Romans. All right. If you're citing anybody, it shows you how to cite them. So this person is saying the statement here, and they're saying that this is where they got it from. Is a citation here. Okay, and then pretty much all the pages are the same way. This is the first level formatting, another formatting. And the other thing, I guess the other last thing is the reference pages. If you are using references, you want to have a page called References, center bold, and then you're going to have it formatted in that way. When you're writing academic papers, your references should be academic. So you can't say, I found this on Facebook or LinkedIn. It has to be a true academic source, such as what you find in your library at Windsor and so forth. And that's pretty much it. So for the questions, it's real simple. You just want this title page, and you want to make sure you have headings and paragraphs and so forth. If you use academic references, you don't have to, but you want to have a page called References, and then you cite your references here. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, other questions?
Professor, one question here.
Yeah.
You're saying that our references needs to be really academic, but suppose if we are doing some research, so suppose I'm doing some research on a business I'm interested in doing, and I'm writing on that, and I find some content on internet around that. No, I'm not writing from there, but I'm taking the idea. So
Yeah.
I have to cite the idea as well. So can I use that link to cite that I took idea from there?
You can, however, with academic papers, it's like a no-no. Like even if you find it there, you find some academic place to support it. So I'll say you can do it, but I just want you to be cognizant of that when you're writing in a graduate program, that your sources are academic, because it's really based on facts and proven. When it's academic, that means there's research being done that proves it. So it's not hearsay or opinions, what have you. You can do it. I just want you to understand that, heads up.
Okay. So
All right.
any links we are using needs to be from the library of Windsor, right?
Yes, that's where all the academic writing is. Or you can go to Google Scholar.
Mm-hmm.
Is another place that I use a lot. And so you can go to Google Scholar as well, because there are academic
Okay.
stuff in there. Okay.
Thank
We're
you.
at 1 o'clock or 1300 now. We've officially switched over. So I'm just gonna one last time ask you about if you have any questions about how to answer any of these questions for the individual exercises. Okay, if you don't, this is what's due by the end of the week. I opened up quiz 1 exercise, individual exercises, until midnight tonight, my time, which is whatever time it is your time. Next week, we'll have more time to actually work on these, because we had to get some personality tests out the way. So next week, the format is, we'll take any questions from the previous week, lecture. You're gonna have time for your team activities in your rooms like you did today. Today, we tested out the rooms. They seem to be fine. And then you're gonna have time towards the end of the course to work on the individual exercises for chapter 3. Okay?
Okay, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Professor.
Okay, thank
Final
you.
questions? No questions, comments? You guys have a great week. And you know where to reach me. All right? Enjoy the rest of your day, evening.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're
Goodbye.
welcome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.